The sky bled with the dying hues of twin suns as the dense forest of Veridion Prime shuddered beneath a creeping twilight. Shadows stretched like claws across the alien foliage, twisted spiraled leaves shimmering faintly with bioluminescent veins. The air was thick with a humid scent, part floral, part musky earth. Somewhere deep in the undergrowth, a low growl echoed, warning and hungry. Kiri's small hand gripped tightly around a glowing shard of crystal, her knuckles white. The slender figure of a child, only 7 cycles old, crouched behind a thick root. Her large, iridescent eyes reflected fear, shimmering with tears she refused to shed. "Human, please," she whispered, voice trembling yet urgent. Kiri's mother, Liora, was caught in a snare. A hunting trap designed by the brutal predators of Veridion Prime, apex hunters that mercilessly stalked the woods for prey. Kiri had run for hours, fleeing through twisted vines and toxic ferns, chasing a desperate hope to find help, and she had found one, the human. The human's name was Captain Eli Mercer, an exobiologist and explorer, newly assigned to the outer colonies for research. Eli's tall frame was draped in a rugged weathered jacket. His dark hair was flecked with streaks of silver from too many sleepless nights studying alien ecologies. The sharp lines of his face betrayed a lifetime of discipline and survival instinct, but there was a softness in his brown eyes when he looked at those who needed aid. He had been cataloging plant species near the edge of the alien forest when Kiri had stumbled into his camp, panic flaring in her gaze. She'd barely managed to get the words out before collapsing in exhaustion. "I need help. My mom's trapped. Snare. Please, you're the only one who can save her," Kiri gasped between sobs. First, Eli had hesitated. Alien politics and territorial dangers weren't his concern. But the child's pleading eyes, the sincerity in her trembling voice, compelled him. He packed his medical kit, a compact energy blade, and a plasma flare gun, following her into the dense, shadowy wilds. Veridion Prime was no ordinary planet. Its ecosystem was a complex mesh of symbiotic and predatory life, and the snare that held Liora was part of a primitive yet devastatingly effective trap network employed by the Tarvix, savage beasts the locals feared. The snare was a woven net of crystalline fibers, almost invisible, designed to tighten with the slightest movement. Liora, a native of this world, was a huntress herself, agile and strong, but caught unawares while foraging. Her cries had echoed through the canopy before silence swallowed them. Eli knelt beside Kiri, watching her eyes scan the forest as if willing her mother's figure to appear. "Show me," he said gently. Guided by the child, Eli stepped carefully through the tangled underbrush, every sense alert. The forest whispered with unseen eyes, flickers of movement, distant roars, a scurrying of claws over bark. The deeper they went, the more the shadows seemed to clutch at their skin. Suddenly, Kiri froze and pointed ahead. There, beneath a heavy bough and coated in creeping moss, was the deadly snare. Liora hung limp, suspended by the crystalline threads that glimmered faintly in the failing light. Her skin, a radiant blend of sapphire and emerald hues, was marred by the cruel binds, her breathing shallow but steady. "She's hurt," Kiri whispered, stepping closer, tears welling again. Eli's fingers went to work, his tools humming softly as he scanned the fibers. "This net's made from a material I've never seen. It reacts to movement by tightening instantly. I have to be careful." With patience and skill, Eli began to cut the snare. Kiri stood by, clutching her mother's hand as soon as the strands gave way. Liora's eyes fluttered open, reflecting relief and pain. "You came back," she murmured, voice faint but filled with warmth. "I promised I'd find you," Kiri replied, voice breaking. But their escape was far from guaranteed. The snare was a beacon to the Tarvix hunters, their bloodthirsty cries drawing closer. Eli loaded his flare gun and motioned for Kiri and Liora to follow him through a narrow path he'd spotted earlier. "We need to move fast," Eli said, urgency sharpening his tone. Liora, despite her weakened state, rose, supported by her daughter and the human. The forest around them erupted with noise, the snarls of beasts and the snapping of branches as monstrous forms lunged from shadows. The Tarvix were terrifying, towering quadrupeds with jagged armor plating, razor claws, and glowing eyes like burning coals. Their hunt was relentless, primal, and deadly. Eli fired his flare gun into the air, a burst of intense light that momentarily blinded the closest creatures. "This way!" he yelled, sprinting towards a dense thicket. Kiri clung tightly to her mother, her mind screaming for safety, for hope. She glanced back to see one Tarvix caught in the flare's glow, recoiling with a guttural snarl. They plunged deeper into the forest, dodging deadly vines that writhed like snakes and leapt over glowing pits. Liora, gathering her strength, whispered strange commands in her native tongue, and astonishingly, bioluminescent plants responded, their lights flaring as if warning or protecting. "You speak the language of Veridion?" Eli asked, astonished. Liora smiled weakly. "My people are bound to this world. The forest listens if you know how to speak." Their brief alliance with the forest bought them moments but not safety. A massive Tarvix barred their path, the Alpha. It roared, a sound that shook the ground, muscles rippling beneath its armored skin. Eli stepped forward, plasma blade humming to life. "Stay behind me," the Alpha charged. The battle was brutal and raw. Eli dodged claws and crushing jaws, slashing where he could. Kiri's heart pounded as she urged her mother to keep moving, tears blurring her vision. With a mighty leap, Eli stabbed the plasma blade into the Alpha's flank, sparks showering the dark. The beast howled, staggering, but refused to fall. Liora, gathering her last reserves, sent a pulse of bioluminescent energy from her palms. The forest itself seemed to awaken. Roots and vines surged forth, entangling the Tarvix Alpha's limbs, slowing its deadly charge. Eli took advantage, delivering a precise strike to the beast's throat. The Alpha collapsed, breathing heavily but subdued. They didn't linger. With the predators beaten back, Eli helped Liora to a natural clearing where his medical kit could treat her wounds properly. Under the cold light of the twin moons now rising, Eli worked diligently, cleansing the wounds inflicted by the snare and the forest's harsh traps. Kiri stayed by her mother's side, whispering soothing words and stroking her hair. Liora's breathing steadied, color returning to her vibrant skin. "You saved my life," she said softly to Eli. "Not just mine," Kiri said, smiling through her tears. "You saved our family." Eli looked at the pair, the fierce alien mother and her brave child, and felt a deep connection forming. This planet, with all its savage beauty and dangers, suddenly felt less alien. "I promise I won't leave you alone here," Eli said. Together, the three watched the stars wheel above Veridion Prime, a night filled with hope born from desperate cries and courage.